Hey, Rod Shelley here, Rod S on Renderosity, and what I want to do here is put together a little series to show you kind of my work process, the techniques I use as I go through and create panels and pages for the Girls from T.N.A. series, and hopefully this will give you an inside look, a little behind the scenes. Might help some others with their artwork or their own stories. That would be a wonderful thing. So first, I want to give you a quick look at. I just recently updated my website, so take a quick look at that, and then we'll get into some creating. So this is the new look. I kind of cleaned it up and reorganized it a little bit better. There will be a couple other additions. I used to have a photography and an art gallery on the website. Those will be coming back at some point in the near future. I can't say exactly when, but they will. But I've set this up so that this picture over here on the left, every time you come back for a new visit or whenever there's a page refresh, it'll change that picture, and I'll probably be adding a little bit more of them, a few more pictures to the series there. So if you click on the title up here, it gives you a little blurb about me, little bit of IO, a little bit of me bragging about Artist of the Year for 2019, and thank you to everybody that voted for me for that. That's an unbelievable honor, considering the fantastic artwork that I see every day on Renderosity. Now, of course, it has the usual stuff: my blog, my Discord server, Facebook, Twitter, this YouTube channel, and then we got links down here to my DeviantArt gallery, my Renderosity gallery. My store on Pixels. Take a quick look at that. Basically, I've got three collections, just typical, just basic artwork, things other than T.N.A. And I'm gonna have to blur that out because it gets the boobs there. I mean, you can't show boobs on YouTube. You can go through and find videos where people are using every possible expletive that's known to man, and some that aren't. I'm certainly no prude. I was raised in a military family, so I'm not any stranger to cuss words. But it just cracks me up that you can hear all kinds of F words and everything else on YouTube, but God don't show a boob. Okay, anyway, enough of that. Anyway, I've got my Girls from T.N.A. collection here. We'll see a little bit more about that here in a second. And just photographs. And this stuff is, you can get it for wall art, like it says here, and you can get it on all kinds of other products. Throw pillows, coffee mugs, all kinds of stuff. And I'll talk a little bit about that later on. I don't want this to sound like a commercial. I've got an Adobe stock portfolio, some of my photography. I've only got about 30 pictures on here, and I'm competing with people that have thousands, so haven't seen a whole lot of reward from that yet. I did sell one, or one person licensed one of them. It was, I believe, where is it? This one. Yeah, this one with the insulator. Somebody licensed that one some time ago, and I think I got a whole 99 cents out of it. So, yeah. And let's see, there's my Patreon. Anybody that would like to jump on board and be a patron, I've got 2 tiers here at the moment. That might change. Some of this might change a little bit, but that's a monthly thing. I've got 2 patrons. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Julia. You guys rock. And let's see, where was I? Okay, yeah, I've got that. Got my Patreon, Fantasy Attic, DeviantArt, and you can also, if you don't want to go through a monthly program, you can also do a one-time donation through PayPal, or I've got this Ko-Fi thing where you can buy me a cup of coffee, and I do love coffee. And you're not really buying me a cup of coffee, you're just sending me like $3 into my PayPal account. So if you feel moved, that's there. And then we've got the girls from T.N.A. And again, with the title, if you click on it, it gives you a little blurb here about how the story got started and a little backstory on the Breitlinger jar, which is the focus. That's the MacGuffin in the story. Got the girls' merch here, and of course that goes back to Pixels. If you click this, it goes back where we were before, and then you can also see all the individual products here. I've got t-shirts, coffee mugs, all kinds of good stuff, and any purchases really help to support the art and support the story. So if you feel moved to grab some cool stuff, go for it. Alright, end of commercial. So that's a quick look at my website. I've also got a Behance up here. This is kind of, I need to update this. This is my Behance that I get through my Adobe Creative Cloud feature. And what I want to do is kind of go to a story behind the story, just kind of a behind the scenes look at the girls from T.N.A. So I'll be doing some work on that as well. And of course, down here we have all the different chapters, 1 through 7, and if you operates pretty much the way it did before. Go over here to the left panel and you can click on the links and the page will appear in the main window. So that is kind of the quick look at the updated website and associated things. So now let's get into some creating the girls from T.N.A. Okay, I am going to be working on frame 1 of the next page, page 6, yeah, page 6 in a story. I'm going to open up screen 2 here, which that's basically my my panel. All my panels for Poser. I've got 2 monitors here. I've become extremely spoiled working with 2 monitors for most things. So anyway, we're going to do panel 1, and this will start off with the point where Ronnie and Hunter, aka Mrs. Smith, and Sancha have just told Kayla that her sister has been kidnapped. So it's going to be a little bit dramatic. What I want to do is have 2 of the other girls, just not main characters, just a couple of the girls that work in the office, walking down the hallway here. You'll have a speech bubble coming out here that says no, and the other 2 girls will be, oh, that doesn't sound good. So we need to put the other 2 girls into the scene. So I am going to run through all of my deals here, and we'll get good old Vicky and put her into the scene. I am working on this particular machine. I've got Poser Pro 2014, and yes, I still work with Victoria a whole lot. There she is inside the inside the office. So we'll go to the top, and I don't want her hip. Come on, cooperate with me. There we go. No, I don't want the office, I want Victoria. Cooperate. I'm doing video. Alright, let's grab Vicky and pull her out here someplace. And I think I was using the aux camera. Yes. Alright, let's rotate Vicky a little bit. We'll put her in a pose here in a minute and make a character out of her. Alright, let's grab the posing camera and see where it is currently living. Alright, that's good. It comes right to her. That's what we want. Alright, it's a little slow because this scene has just a ton of stuff in it. Alright, so let's change Victoria into just one of the office girls running around there. Nobody in specific. Alright, characters V4 only, and let's just grab one at random here. I've got, let's see, my latest count on Victoria V4 figures is 886. So I've been doing this for 10 years, so I have accumulated a few things. Alright, let's grab Laura Lee here, and we'll do a body inject, head inject, and we'll put some textures on her. This is, I believe, by Illusions Designs. Haven't seen Jamie for, God, I don't know how long. Wonder if he's even still around. I know a few years back he had a sale. It was like 69 bucks for every single character he ever created, and I bought into that, so I've got all of his characters. So now we're going to put textures on her, and I will warn you, when I do this, I'm going to have to throw some little sensor deals on there, or blur it out or something, because you know, the texture figures that come into, or the materials that come onto a new figure are just like we are when we're bored, naked. And like I said in the intro, you can call somebody an MF on YouTube, and that's not a problem, but you don't dare show a boob. So anyway, so we'll do that. I'm going to go ahead and go into my scripts and grab Easy Skin 2 by Snarly Gribbly. It's a wonderful skin shader, and it actually works really, really well with subsurface scattering. Where to go? Right in the background. There we go. So skin. Yeah, we'll use a fairly light skin. She's gonna be a background element anyway, so it's not. Okay, what did I do? See, I got distracted. All right, let's convert her skin. Convert all materials. And there we go. Now let's grab a hair prop and put on her. And let's see. Let's try anemone hair. Anemone hair. Do 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 do. All right, there we go. Anemone hair. Alright, now we're going to give her a little bit of a pose, and then we'll put some clothes on her so I can get rid of the blur or sensor block, whatever I decided to do. So let's go to poses. And we'll go down here. And these are a few of my own poses that I made. We'll give her a nice walking pose. And let's put some clothes on her so we can go get rid of the censorship thing. We'll just grab a couple things by 3D Age. I love 3D Age's stuff because it's so trouble free. You just bada boom, bada bing, and it goes on. So let's do, what shall we do here? Let's do this small lovely. Drag it over. Conform it to Vicky. Eventually. Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to do a little bit of adjusting here. Okay, now I'm going to pause this for just a minute because I'm going to have to go in and do some work, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back now, and I got rid of the nippleage and you know, things that make YouTube censors go crazy. So still got a few things to do, but what I'm basically doing, I'm using the morph brush here, which is one of the coolest features in Poser. I'm not sure if, I don't think Daz has anything quite like this. I know they've got some smoothing functions and so on and so forth, and which reminds me, I really need to get Daz reinstalled on the other machine. So I can explore it a little bit more thoroughly. But this is great for matching clothing, you know, for covering up breasts and things like that, and getting the clothing to fit just right. You know, of course, this girl and the next girl I put in are going to be background elements, so everything doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. So, and of course, with something like this, we can just go in and, for instance, select her right shoulder and go to properties and just make it invisible. And same thing with the collar. Make sure it's Victoria and not the clothing item. Things that are thoroughly hidden by the clothing, you can get away with doing this. And that's a whole lot faster than sitting there and trying to morph brush everything. Like that. Now the forearm, I think I'm probably going to have to morph brush that, because yeah, there's just a little bit. You probably would never see it, but I'll go ahead and do the morph brush on that real quick. And I usually set it here to 0.0010, and This is the Titan fit, which actually is perfect for getting it to fit on something that like this. But we have to make sure we have the right thing selected. There. Because you get really strange results if you have Victoria selected instead of the clothing item. So let's just go through this real quick. Like I said, this is a background element, so I'm not going to try to get everything absolutely perfect. Because they'll be in one scene and that's it. And for little bitty dots and things like that that show up, we've got, of course, we've got Photoshop on the Photoshop machine, which is, I very, very, very rarely ever post anything, any kind of a render that hasn't had at least a precursory run through Photoshop. Whether it's to cover up little dots that didn't get covered in with a morph brush, or just adjusting the quality of the image, the hue, saturation, contrast, things like that. I use Camera Raw a lot, especially with the newer Camera Raw. Has got some great features for you know, making your images look really good. And I just went through the new Camera Raw course by Colin Smith over at Photoshop Cafe, and it is excellent. And he even used one of my photographs in there as one of the examples. So that was pretty cool. Alright. That's done. It's kind of draggy because I've got OBS running on this, as well as a scene in this scene here in Poser that's got just a ton of stuff in it in that office. So it's a little bit draggy with all of that going on. I hit Control S pretty frequently. Control S is your friend, because Poser has been known to crash with you know, very, very complex scenes. So let's just fix this part of her dress, and then we will put another lady in here and do essentially the same thing. But I just love this morph brush because it just works so well. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now let's, I believe we're using the aux camera. Okay, like I said, she's going to be a background element. I'll probably bring her in a little closer and put some shoes on her. But I'm going to go ahead and put her companion in there that she'll be speaking to. And I'm probably going to skip ahead to that point because I'll be doing essentially with her what I did with this, and there's no sense boring you to death with me doing the same thing I just did. So I'll be back in a little bit with more. Okay, now I've brought in another lady here, and the hair looks a little weird here because it's actually just a 3D mesh. It's a prop hair. In the render, it looks great, but you just can't see the texture in the preview. So I've moved them a little bit closer. And obviously put clothes on her, put shoes on the first lady. And I want to do a couple other things here. I don't really like the way the floor looks. I'm going to make some adjustments on that. So let's go to the top camera and select the floor. And you can see here the scale is like 336%. And what I want to do is make those squares just a little bit smaller. And what I'll probably have to do is add another floor prop, because the walls are here, and on the other side, let's see, where's the wall there? Okay, we got plenty of room there. So let's just move that wall. Let's see, not the wall, I mean the floor. Come here, floor. Where are you? There you are. All right, let's see which. All right, there's our X. We're going to move it back to the to this wall, and then I may have to add another section here. And what I want to do is bring it out so that the joint lines here are matching where the actual office is. Bring that down just a little bit. Keep coming, baby, keep coming. Right about there, I think. Let's take a look at the aux camera. Yeah, that's about perfect. Okay, so now there's a little bit of weirdness going on down here, so I will have to add another floor prop. Make sure that's still selected, duplicate, and now we'll move this rascal in the X direction. Just enough to get rid of that weirdness. Okay, now essentially frame 1 is done with one other thing that needs to be done. Because you're not actually going to see in frame 1, you're not actually going to see the other girls. You're just going to have the no up here, and then these two girls. Oh, that doesn't sound good, or something along those lines. But up here, we need a ceiling. And if you will remember from chapter 6, Kayla's research facility is actually in an underground bunker there in Washington, or near Washington, D.C., where all of the records and everything is being transferred from the Smithsonian. And this is where Kayla is doing all of her archive research. So this, I want to make it look like it's actually in an underground bunker. So what I will be doing in this next segment here, in the next few minutes, is doing just that. And in a nutshell, what I will be doing is actually scanning a piece. If I could ever learn how to talk, I will be scanning a piece of essentially floor tile, the same tile I've got on my basement floor and in our kitchen and bathroom. And what I will do is make a 3D postcard out of that and insert it up here. So that's coming up next. And then basically this frame will be done. And then we will start into frame 2. Okay, I'm going to real quickly here make a stone ceiling for the bunker for where Kayla is. So I'm going to go over here to my other screen and grab this, which is basically just a scan of a piece of peel and stick floor tile. Essentially this is the same tile I used for the basement floor and a couple other rooms here in the house. And it scans and makes a wonderful, wonderful looking texture. So we're going to make a 3D object out of this. We're actually going to make a 3D postcard, which will just sit down over the top of the scene. So we'll go to 3D, new mesh from layer, and postcard. And yes, I want to switch to the 3D workspace. And before I go any further, I am going to rename the background, and I am going to call it Stone Texture. Okay, so yes, we'll save it. Okay, so now we have basically a flat one-dimensional postcard, and that's pretty much all we need. So we will go to 3D, export 3D layer, and we're going to save it as a wavefront OBJ, and texture format is JPEG, and we'll say OK. And let's take this to, let's go to the E drive over on the Titan computer, which is the one that I'm working with Poser on right now, and tile stone texture. So tile 001 OBJ, that looks good. I'll just leave that as is. Click save. And now we've exported it over to the other computer. So now we will we'll hop into Poser and apply it to our ceiling. Okay, we're back on the Poser computer. This is actually the next day. I've been doing a little bit of work. I created a microphone stand for this boom mic. It came with a little screw-on, one of those little screw-on clamp things, but I use it on both my Photoshop computer and on this one, and it was becoming a little bit of a pain in the rear to unscrew that little clamp and bring it over and then find a place to clamp it and then adjust the microphone and then take it back over when I wanted to record on the other computer. So I just put together a little 15-minute job in the shop and just made a little simple wood microphone stand so I could use it over here without having to unscrew the clamp over there. Anyway, enough about that. We are going to add a ceiling here, that the stone ceiling that we made in Photoshop. So I am going to go to, let's see, where's Ox Camera 2? Okay, yeah, that's good. That's a good one. Good view there. And we'll tilt this down a little bit. Sometimes it's hard to tell where these things will come in at. So we made that 3D postcard of the piece of floor tile. Now we're going to import it, and that was a wavefront OBJ, and just leave the settings where they are. And let's go to, I believe I put that on the E drive. There we go, OBJ, and let's see, what did I call that? Tile stone texture, tile 001 OBJ. Now let's see if this works. I see it right here. Okay. Obviously, it needs to be a whole lot bigger. So we will rotate it. Let's rotate it 90 degrees. And make it a whole bunch bigger. Okay, we can just increase the X scale. Kind of like that. Now it's just a matter of rotating this rascal. Let's see if I get it right. I usually get this wrong. Yeah. Okay. It's probably, yeah, it's underground. All right, let's bring that rascal up. I think that's it. No, that's the floor. Zoom out and see if we can find it. Let's see, I think I see it right. Nope, not there. That's not it, that's the floor. The fun part of 3D, folks. Oh, it's way up in the sky. No wonder I can't find it. Now I'll just bring that rascal down. Now we're cooking. Okay, we're probably going to have to flip it 180 degrees. Oh, there it is. Persnickety thing. usually don't give me this much trouble. Alright, let's do minus 90. There we go. Okay, let's go back to this camera. Now that we've got this more or less where we want it. And we will just start lowering it down a little bit till it reaches the point at which it contacts the outer walls there. This wall back here. Just about like that. Now for this scene, pretty much have what we need. And let's go to the aux camera 2. And it looks like it's pretty much covered the whole thing. Okay. Now we can reduce the X. Yeah, let's not do that. Let's reduce the X scale, not move it. Okay, so now we go back to this camera. Now it looks like we have a stone ceiling, like we are actually in a bunker. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a quick render, and I'll pause this while it does that. Okay, now there's one last thing we need to do before we hit a test render, and you notice how dark it is all of a sudden. What we need to do is go into the material room and click on it, and we've got our texture here, which is fine. I usually for things like this use crisp instead of quality, but you see this is gray here. Yeah, we give it a little bit of specular, not a whole lot because it's it's stone. But we do want the lights to kind of reflect off of it a little bit. So we can reduce the specular down a little bit. Okay. So now let's try a render and see what we have. Okay, I'm still making a few final tweaks here. I'm brightening up these lights a little bit. And I'm raising them up a little bit on the Y, moving them up on the Y-axis. So let's copy that and move the other lights. up. I'm increasing the intensity to about 55. To give us a little bit better light on it. And I'm going to do one other thing. I'm chomping on M&Ms. So let's go into the material room and let's give this a little bump. A little bump, not a whole bunch. We just want it to look like stone. And I disconnect this. And let's make that a little redder. And again, bring that down just a touch. All right. All right, now let's see what we've got. Okay, I'm still working a little bit with the lighting, and I am going to take this light here and duplicate it. And that is, let's see, that's the Z-axis, right? Nope. There we go. That's on the X-axis. Because I want a little bit more light on that. On the stone ceiling to make it look right. I had to kill the fill light because it was throwing shadows where I didn't want them. It was throwing shadows on the wall here where I didn't really want them. Let's go back and look at the aux camera. Move these guys a little more on this axis. This is the Z-axis. All right. Now let's see what we have. Hopefully, let's see, one more thing I might look at. Sometimes adding just a tiny bit of ambient. You don't want to add too much because you don't want it to look like the ceiling is glowing. but sometimes just a tiny bit of ambient can help. So let's see what we've got. I could do an area render, but I'm just going to go ahead and render the whole scene, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, we're getting there. It's starting to look much better now. That ambient brings out the ceiling just a little bit more without it making it look like the ceiling is glowing. Might be a couple more things that I do. I would like to put some light over in this area because this side of the girls is kind of falling off into some darker shadows than I really want. So let's get this light and pull it over this way. And I'm just going to grab it and kind of pull it over here in front of the girls and bring it down just a bit. I have an infinite light as my fill light, but I don't really, that's not it. Where is it? This must be it. There it is. I really don't want it too strong. Now I've killed the shadows on the fill. I'll bring it up just a touch. I don't want it too strong because, as you can see, I don't have a wall on this side, and it casts a shadow. I guess I could always do this, then it won't cast a shadow from the ceiling. It's all making it up as you go along. I'm sure I don't need to tell most of you that because you do the same thing I do with this stuff. Now I am going to lower this just a bit because it's not quite meshing with the top of the office here. And I could leave it like that because it could be this is just a structure built within the bunker, but this whole area I'm visualizing as an office area. On its own, so I want to just lower this just a bit, kind of like that, and I should probably lower these lights just a bit. These are all obviously point lights, and they're all set to constant. Alright. Go back to this camera. And I think we've knocked off most of our offending shadows. So let's do one more and see what we've got. I think we're just about there. Okay, I am pretty happy with that. That's pretty much the way I wanted it to look. And we got a little bit of light coming in over here, which is fine. It's like there's a ceiling light there. And I'm thinking about maybe putting just a touch of texture on this wall. I might just go ahead and try that, putting a little bit of texture there. Just so it doesn't look quite so flat and boring. So, okay, that's wall. Let's put a new node, 3D textures, and do a little bit of noise. I don't necessarily want these real big. Set that. And let's plug that into the bump. And let's make this quite a bit smaller. And we'll take a quick look and see how how that affects it. If it's too radical, I won't use it, but I just wanted a little bit of texture on this wall. So let's see what happens. Okay, now here's our render, and that's looking good. That's I'm pretty happy with that. We got a little bit of texture here on the wall, and of course, the further away the wall gets, like in reality, you see less texture, but it's not just a flat, boring plane. So I am pretty happy with that. So I think that'll wrap it up for this one. I will go ahead and probably do some tweaks in Photoshop and add text and so on and so forth. And obviously the final render will be considerably larger than this. They're usually 3,000 to 4,000 across this direction horizontally, and then reduced down when I incorporate them into a page. So that's a little bit of a look. I'll be doing more of these videos. I'll have ones like this. I'm planning on in the future to have some more in-depth videos, considerably longer, and those will be linked over on my Patreon page. So might stop by there and take a look. But I think that'll wrap it up for this one. And thanks for stopping by. And we'll look forward to doing more of these. So until later, Rod Shelley, Rod S, saying we'll see you on the next one.